Thank you so much for joining us today for the virtual farm field trip. This field trip is focusing on tillage and technology, and we are joined today by our presenter from Forest Grove, Oregon at Derek's Farm. And just a few logistics before we get started. We want to make sure that everyone has a great experience. So everyone is going to remain muted, and we're going to be using that chat function for any questions that you may have. And I'm going to be reading those questions to our presenter, and then he'll be answering them throughout the tour. So please use that chat feature, type your questions in there, and we'll get to as many questions as possible today. So without further ado, I'd love to introduce our presenter today. Like I mentioned, this is Derek's Farm in Forest Grove, Oregon, and our presenter today is Thomas Derricks. Take it away, Thomas. Oh, I actually do need you to unmute. There we go. Go ahead and start over there.
Oh, this was technical difficulties. Okay, one more time. Good morning, everybody. Welcome to Oregon. It rains when it wants to. We've been dry for so long, and this is a great day for a rain shower. How about that? So my name is Thomas Derricks. I am a fourth generation farmer here on my family's dirt. What we have here is my grandfather's Farmall H. This is what he started with. So this is a total of 26 horsepower, and it was our main workhorse of the farm. And before that, his grandfather used horses, and those are no longer with us anymore. We are a 300-acre home place farm, and it was everything this little tractor could do to stay active or keep ahead of our tillage needs. Then once my father came around and got a little bit older, and he took the farm over from his dad, we upgraded to our 856 International. And so we jumped from 26 horsepower on this little one. And a horsepower is actually, it's a measurement, it's a legitimate measurement of the amount of work a horse can do in a specific day. So that was 26 horses. Now we moved on to 100 horses. So when my dad took over the place from my father or my grandfather, we upgraded to this 100 horsepower to meet our tillage requirements. And we had tillage equipment that was suited for this tractor, and everything was 12 feet wide or 10 feet wide. And that was the latest technology at that time. We still use this tractor today, but we use it for mainly irrigation purposes. When you drive down the road and you see those big giant sprinklers out there, it takes a tractor of this size to pull it out and to move it around the farm. And we use a lot of irrigation in our area because we grow sweet corn and perennial ryegrass and clover seed, and each one of those commodities likes a little bit of irrigation and a little bit drinks of water during the season. Then we move on to the tractor I bought when I took over the farm for my father, and now we're up to 540 horsepower. So we bought this a few years ago because our tillage equipment has been getting bigger in sizes. And so this piece of tillage equipment that we have is called a disc ripper. So it does the job of two implements that this tractor used to have to pull. So this tractor had to go across the field twice, where this tractor is going across the field once. And so the front blades will sit there and cut the sod open and make it into smaller manageable clumps. And then on the midsection of the machine, it's these ripper shanks where a lot of people are talking about compaction. So compaction is one of those items in our soils that when you drive over it too many times, the seeds won't be able to grow their little roots out and do a good job of growing. So we like to run the disc ripper through there so these ripper shanks actually loosen the soil up and in that compaction zone. And it goes about 13.5 inches in the ground. And then behind that is another set of disc blades to help fill those furrows in, because as you will see, as we drive the tractor forward, it leaves these big ditches. And then on the back of that, we have a paddle roller. So really, this is an amazing machine, and it was able to help us become more efficient in the field, because the name of the game right now in ag is efficiencies. We cannot spend as much time as our predecessors out there in the field making big clods into little clods, because we need to work it up so all the seeds are happy in the soil. So with that, we'll crawl up into the tractor and we will show you guys some of the tech that we're using now and the tillage implement in action. Do
While
we
you're
want to
trying
do any questions?
Sure. We do have a couple of questions. One is from Zion Lutheran Christian in Corvallis, and it's how much would a new tractor cost?
Okay, so do we want to know about the one with the tracks or the one with the tires? The ones with the tracks right now are sitting right around $500,000. So 500,000. We picked this one up used and it was about half price. So that's where we're at on that. This implement that we're towing behind us, the new versions of it is about $100,000. And then the implement hanging on the back, the roller, is right around 32,000, I think. So we have a little bit of capital in this sitting here together in the field.
Absolutely. And I think you may have mentioned this at the beginning, but how many years has your family been farming?
So we are a century farm. So we have been here for over 120 years now, I think is the correct number. My great grandfather my grandfather came out here. We were actually from Minnesota and we were dairymen to begin with. And we settled in this area because the home place has 3 sources of water. So we have 3 irrigation or 3 ditches that go through there that the cattle would be able to graze. And we have a whole bunch of low ground that was really great for raising pasture. And in our area, we used to have quite a few dairies around here, and now they're down to 3 dairies left in the entire county. But it's all commodity of scale, and right now to survive in dairying, you have to have over 350 cows milking. We used to be a dairy, like I said, but then when my dad took over the farm, he is deathly allergic to animal hair. And so the last thing he wanted to be was a dairy farmer. So we converted over to growing row crops, strawberries, alfalfa for hay, black raspberries, wheat. And we got into those because back in those days, strawberries were a hot commodity and you can make a really good living off of 25 acres of strawberries. But since then, due to the economy, we have moved out of the berry industry and focused more on grass seed, clover, and wheat.
Awesome. Well, I think we're ready to take a look inside that cab.
Okay. Okay, we'll have to wait a minute for here to have the GPS boot up. Any other questions?
We have a question about if you share tractor and equipment with other farmers in the area.
That is a great question, but the problem is usually most of the time we're all using the same implements at the same time. We do have one piece that we do share with the neighbors, but we only share it with one other neighbor, and it is our grass seed drill. And it's because it is a specialized piece of equipment. So let's see here. So one of the nice things about this tractor is the fact that this had GPS on it when we purchased it, which makes my job a whole lot easier. So here's the screen. So we're in the fall. It's our disc ripper. We want it to record the area that's on. So far in this season, we have driven this tractor 220 miles around the fields. And the fuel usage of this tractor of its entire life has been 4,000 gallons of fuel we've burned through here. And we have 1,500 hours on the tractor. And then that's all of our stuff there. Go to this one. And what's confusing is, so this is our second GPS machine in a tractor. And we use John Deere and we use Ag Leader. So this is an Ag Leader system. So they like to put all their buttons in different spots. So, okay, I think it's warmed up enough here now. So right now we're looking at this. It's burning 3 gallons of diesel an hour just sitting here. We're using 5% of engine power just sitting. And once we start up, we'll be able to see how much slippage we have on the tracks. Map, run. Okay, we'll go back to that screen. Okay, so we pick it up, put it in gear. So then this machine is also adjustable. We can adjust the disc blades for the right depth control. And that one adjusts our furrow fillers there in the back. Okay, are you ready, Casey? You holding on? Okay, so we got our rippers all the way in the ground. Now we're going to put the disc blades down. Hey, you want to start? Set.
So as you're doing this, there's a couple of questions coming in. Is it, how fast are you moving, and is it difficult to drive the tractor?
Okay, the speed that we're going right now is 5 miles an hour. And what was the second part of the question?
Is it difficult to learn how to drive the tractor?
No, it isn't too bad, actually. We, hold on here, I got to turn back the other direction. It isn't too bad. I would say that the older tractors are more difficult to drive because they didn't have as much fun things in them. How about that? It used to be we didn't have hydraulics, so we had to have a rope trip, a lever out there to trip the machine to come up and go back down. So here we're on the heading, and we're on that red line on the machine. So we're going to push the button, and it's going to settle back out to where it wants to be. And then you can swivel in your seat and then watch the implement behind you. So we are using the full width of the implement at each pass for maximum efficiency. And that's been one of the nice things. So now we're able to worry about the implement behind us, make sure it's doing the right job, and we don't have to worry about steering the tractor because we know the tractor is doing the right heading down the field. And that's why in a lot of those newer fields that you see planted, like the grass seed and the corn, those are all really nice straight rows, is because the computer is doing its job. Come back around. And I like it because it frees me up so I could make phone calls and run the business side of my farm. Because everybody always wants to talk to me for a lot of reasons. Okay. Or now that I have a family, I got my 3 boys that like to crawl in the cab with me, and I can pay attention to them and not worry so much about steering the machine.
So one of the questions on here from Miss DeWitt's class is, how much crop do you harvest in a day?
It depends on the crop. So like in our sweet corn, we will harvest probably 15 acres a day. And with like our wheat seed, we harvest right around 24, 25 acres a day. And like red clover, it's 18 acres a day with the combine.
How long do you spend in the tractor in a day? Mr. Nichols' class wants to know.
Well, it depends what type of season we're in. Like our combines, our harvest machines, we will start them up at noon and run them until about 8 o'clock at night. So that's 8 hours in the seat of the harvest machines. But these machines, we don't have to worry about moisture content. So we will run them from 8 o'clock in the morning till 8 o'clock at night, or as long as the employee wants to run it. And if he doesn't want to drive anymore, I can find another employee that will surely go do the job for the rest of the day. But as long as we get our acres covered, we're happy.
So there are a couple of questions regarding employees. So one is, how many employees do you have on your farm? And then also, do people need a special license to drive a tractor? And how old do you have to be to drive a tractor?
So there is a tractor driving course that you have to take. And it usually happens when you're right around the age of 14. And that is offered through usually your local FFA advisor and or your local 4-H people. And that's so we can drive them down the road. And you have to have your certification for that. So you're just well with, as long as you know your tractor and going down the road. Because going down the road is actually one of the scariest parts of driving a tractor this day and age, because we only get a top speed of like 20 miles an hour. And, you know, everybody in their car wants to go 60 miles an hour. So there's a big speed difference there. And that's why we try to run flag cars behind us. So in case if people are going too fast, it will actually slow them down a little bit before they hit us in the back. And that's kind of why on all of the implements you see those funny looking triangles. That is actually, here, we can go to the back of this thing. That is actually why we have them on there. And it signals to the other drivers that we are only going 20 to 25 miles an hour. And if we're going any faster than that, technically the triangle is supposed to be hidden after that. So then these are all the hydraulics hanging on the back of the tractor. And these are what helps power the implement to come up and go down into the ground. We have lights on there, so when we're on the road that it's safe for everybody and they are able to see us. Well, I'm sorry, what was the other part of that question? I got off on a
Oh,
tangent.
no worries. How many employees do you have on your farm?
We have, right now we have 2 hired employees, and then my father still works with me every day and myself. So altogether there's 4 of us, and my nephew who's 16, his job is going to school, and then when he's not in school, he's here helping us on the farm.
Awesome. So Miss Hull's class wants you to just kind of reiterate a little bit about the purpose of that GPS in that tractor.
The purpose of the GPS is to help me be more efficient at my job. So this piece of implement is 20 feet wide when it's all folded out like it is now. And I want to make sure that I am driving 20 feet wide every pass across the field. So then I am using the most amount of horsepower and the most amount of the implement, and I'm not wasting diesel or time.
Another question about the tractor is how noisy is it from the outside and what's the fastest it can go?
The tractor will go 25 miles an hour, and we like to go down the road actually at 15 because it will help save the tracks. It will make the life expectancy of the tracks go a lot longer. And it isn't that noisy outside of the cab, or you can actually have a conversation with it running in the background. It sure beats grandpa's H or dad's 856 sitting there that we had in the lineup. The 856, you'd have to wear earplugs on, and the H, you'd probably want earplugs also.
So just thinking about the process a little bit, after the field is disked and rolled, what happens next?
That is actually a great question. We can meander over this way into the hay shed. I have my cultipacker and my drill hooked up. So what a big part of being the farmer is being able to read your soil and know what implement to use in the soil. So really we use this disc sitting here, and then we'd use that disc ripper, and we usually like to come across it about one more time to help level it off with a cultivator of some sort. And then we would come in with our cultipacker and drill to help level it off and plant the seeds.
A question that we have that came in is how many hours a day do you work?
That depends on the season. Right now we're putting in probably 11 to 12 hours. During harvest time, we're usually right around the 16 hours. And a lot of our time during summer is irrigation work. And we're moving a bunch of irrigation in the morning, and then we get to harvest in the afternoons. So this is our cultipacker and our drill. So after we get the ground pretty well prepped and leveled off pretty decently, we will come across it with this implement. So it's got a bunch of rollers on it, and it helps make the big clods into little clods. And then we have a set of teeth back here that will help work it up a little bit finer, and then a little bit finer, a little bit different tooth, and then another set of rollers. And then that will help tighten up the seed bed for the drill to plant into. So then the seeds are all nice and happy and cozy in the soil. This is our grain drill, and this is what we use to plant most all of our commodities that we grow on the farm. So this is our grain drill, and then we have a corn planter because we also grow sweet corn, and that's a whole nother topic. It's a specialized tool that is just specifically made for planting corn.
So Miss Hull's class wants to know, have your tractors ever broken down in the middle of the field, and what have you done?
Yes, that is a common theme sometimes. It's like this tractor that is hooked up to the drill. Um, we were out in the middle of the field about 3 or 4 years ago, and the transmission blew up. So then we had to call a person or a giant tow truck basically to pull it out of the field, get it loaded up, and take it to the dealership where they had to remove the cab, remove the tires, and get down into the transmission. And of course, it's always the gear at the bottom of the transmission case. And that gear cost me a lot of money. So this tractor is going to stay with us for quite some time. And then, so what this drill will actually help us plant is, so this is some of our grass seed that we grow on the farm. And it is turf type fescue. And when you guys drive down the road, you see those little grass plants alongside the highway and those nice straight rows that's made by the GPS and the tractor. This is what we're going after. And this is our seed that we get at the end. And then you will plant this in your lawn and you'll have a nice green lawn. And then another one of the seeds that we grow is red clover. So this is called medium red clover. And we use this in the Midwest actually as a cover crop. And cover crops are getting to be a big thing in the Midwest to help the fertility of the soil, because the clover plant does a good job of catching the nitrogen out of the air and turning it into usable vitamins for the soil. And then what everybody likes to see is our wheat. So this is called a soft white wheat, and we will produce this and it will be shipped around the world. We will send it to Egypt and Brazil and a lot of the Asian countries like Taiwan. They buy a lot of the wheat. And so we will hold this in our grain tanks that you saw in the background out there, and we will wait till the price is right to move it during the winter time. And then our last one is, this is silage corn, not sweet corn. You don't want to eat this because it will taste like chewing on a piece of gum. And we are about ready to start harvesting it either today or tomorrow. And we're going to grind it up and send it to Tillamook to make ice cream out of the happy cows down in Tillamook.
Well, if you can believe it or not, it's almost the end of our tour. We've learned so much from you today. Thank you so much. The last question that we have for you is from Zion Lutheran Christian in Corvallis. And they're curious what the most difficult part of farming is, and what do you find the most rewarding?
Most difficult part in farming, it will be the long hours and the price fluctuations on all the different grains that we grow, because it's always hard to budget how much money we might be having to come in. And the most rewarding part of my day is when my boys come out and they crawl up in the tractor with me, and we get to spend an hour out there, and they just love riding around in the tractor and living here on the farm, on the premises. It's a whole lot of fun.
Well, thank you so much, Thomas, for sharing a little bit about your farm and the work that you do with us all today. Students, join me in thanking Thomas for teaching us today about tillage and technology and sharing with us a little bit about his family's farm. Thank you all for joining us. We hope you have a great rest